Hi everyone, I get a lot of questions about how to progress the Atlas, how to move up to higher maps and sustain your map drops, and these kind of things, especially from newer players. So I want to make this video and talk about the basics a little bit. If you are a veteran player, then this will most likely not apply to you. You will probably know all of this already. So let's get started. When you finish the campaign, you will start working on your Atlas, and you start down here in tier 1 maps, which without void stones is gonna be down here. And then you start progressing up to tier 2, tier 3, etc. all the way to tier 16 at the top. So this is where the journey will end, and you will try to basically complete every single map once for the bonus objective. So in white maps, you have to do the maps with blue quality, so magic. In yellow maps, they have to be rare. And in red maps, they have to be rare and corrupted with a Vaal orb. And as you do this, you're going to unlock more and more points for your Atlas Passive Tree. So this is extremely useful because you can spec into certain league mechanics to make them show up more often, make them more rewarding. And this is essentially where you get all your currency. So the first map ever you're going to get from the main quest after defeating Kitava, you talk to Kirac, he gives you your first tier 1 map, and you might have found some already on your way through the campaign. And if you need more, you can also buy them from Kirac. So you can just purchase items and you can look at them and you can press Alt, and this will show you Atlas map complete or incomplete and the bonus objective complete or incomplete. Typically, as I mentioned, you want to do both in one go. The Atlas map completion just means that you have done a map once and it becomes part of your loot table. So what this means is that when the game rolls a map drop, and for example, you get a tier 2 map drop from defeating a certain enemy, when you do this in a cold river map and you have nothing completed, it will only drop one of the connected tier 2 maps. So this will be a dungeon, a museum, or a bog. So you can see those lines here. But if you have completed the map, it will be part of your loot pool, no matter which map you run. So for example, I have completed bog and museum already. They will be part of my loot pool. But if I run an arid lake, I will either get a peninsula, a frozen caverns, or an acid caverns, or one of those completed as well. So typically you don't really care that much about completion, you do care about the bonus objective, because this is where you get the Atlas Passive Tree points. So first of all, always run the maps you haven't completed yet and try to do the bonus objective in one go. And if you need more, you can go check out Kirac, as I mentioned, and you look at what he has in his inventory. The second trick you can do is that you can sell maps to the vendor. So you can trade them up 3 to 1. So if you have 3 times the same map, you can trade it to a +1 tier. You see, this goes from tier 1 to tier 2. And if you have more than 3, you can actually try to mix and match them in different combos so that you get a different map. So if I remove this one, for example, and we put this, we do get a plaza now. And if I add this one, it's a museum. So if you have like 5, 6, 7 different maps, you can try to do like any kind of combination between them to get a different higher map. And this might help you out a little bit as well. Then there are also the Kirac missions. So as you complete maps, you're gonna start stacking up your master missions and also the Kirac missions. And Kirac missions have a specialty that they don't care about your Atlas Passive Tree, so you just don't have any passive points there. But he can also give you those missions, and again, you can press Alt, you can see what you have completed, and you can run those maps that you haven't completed. So this also gives you a bit of a bonus there. Definitely make sure you check out those missions if you run out of new maps to run that are not completed yet. And there are also certain things called scouting reports that you can find. So they just randomly drop. And you can also use those to reroll Kirac's missions without actually using up those missions. So you're gonna have only a few because it does take quite some maps to actually get a mission. But using those scouting reports, you can refresh the inventory of the missions and it will reroll to other maps that will maybe be something that you haven't completed. And additionally, once you have started the Kirac mission, it will also reset his inventory. So you can go and try to purchase other maps yet again. The main currencies you need for that are Orb of Chance and Alchemy Orbs, and also for the higher tier maps, Chaos Orbs. So you have to pay attention to not waste them too much. Typically the prices are kind of high for Kirac maps. So if you look at the market value of these maps, it is usually way lower, unless you're talking about like first day of the league or so, where especially the red maps are in high demand. So it's not really worth doing this a lot unless you want to avoid trading as much as possible, or if you are like one of the first people, or like you're trying to be very fast and there's not really many maps on the market yet early in the league. But if you want to buy maps, you can go to the Path of Exile trade site and can go to the bulk item exchange and you can look at maps here. And there you can just, select whatever maps you like and try to finish them up like this. Or for example, if you are in a guild or you have some friends also playing the game and they're already further progressed than you, then most of the time they will just give you those low maps at least for free, because they don't really have much value for someone who is just blasting T60 maps already. Additionally, if you feel like you are strong enough and you're slowly running out of map drops, or you really want to progress up fast, then you can also roll your maps to be more dangerous but more rewarding. So this is something you generally do, like the typical Alc and Go strategy, or just, for example, for white maps, you make them blue, but you can also run them yellow or even corrupted to get more map drops. You see this item quantity bonus at the top. That means that you get generally more loot. There's also more pack size, which means even more loot, because those two bonuses basically multiply with each other. And this item quantity bonus also applies to map drops. So that in this lake map, I have roughly double the amount of loot and almost 1.5 times the amount of monsters. So it combines to roughly triple the amount of drops. And this includes maps. Keep in mind that only those map item quantity bonuses that you can see in the top right corner actually apply to map drops. So in this case, this 30% increased quantity of items counts for map drops. But when you have items equipped yourself to give increased quantity of items found, it does not apply to map drops, only to all other loot. But rolling your maps to be higher quantity and higher pack size is definitely useful. And then there's also Atlas passive points that you want to take to make the progression even smoother early on. So there is those clusters here in the passive tree, especially towards the bottom and the center. You can also click on them to highlight the different clusters. You see there's 1, 2, 3 of them with the maps tag. And they have a chance to give you higher map drops. So you get 25% here, you get 25% there. And then you have this wheel here that gives you another 25% on each side, to a total of 100% chance to get 1 tier higher map drops. The same happens with the void stones. So when you have all 4 void stones that you're going to unlock from killing certain bosses later on, once you have reached G60 maps, you can get another 100% chance to get +1 tier on your map drops. So you get +2 tiers on every single map drop. And this will also allow you to sustain high tier maps later on. One last trick I want to mention is that, especially for red maps that you need to corrupt, you can try to make them still rather easy. So especially early on when your gear is not really good and your build might just not be scaling that well yet, you can try to just make them blue and then regal and Varlop them. And well, in this case, it got extremely dangerous. But if this doesn't happen with the Varlop, then you can have like a 2-mod kind of easy red map that is not really that hard to complete. And it will allow you to just progress up more smoothly early on by investing a tiny bit of currency to roll them. And that pretty much concludes the video. So to sum it up, make sure you use Kirac's inventory, especially early on. Use the scouting reports and the Kirac missions to complete some extra maps and reset the inventory. And make sure that you get all the map clusters here, especially early in the progression, to get the higher map drops. And with this, you're usually sustaining pretty well, and you can go all the way to T60 maps. And once you have built a decent map pool, you can also start unspecking some of those passive points again. Hope this helps. Subscribe for more PoE content and guides, and I'll see you guys next time.